Welcome to Impact AI. I'm your host, John Hodges. On today's episode, we're diving into the evolving world of hospitality, exploring the wins, the challenges, and the strategies that are truly moving the needle as we look ahead into 2026. My guest today, Howie Colt, also known as Captain Howie Colt, brings a wealth of experience in both hospitality and real estate leadership. Over the years, he's built and managed portfolios that bridge operational excellence with strategic investment, from property acquisition and development to optimizing performance across hospitality assets. Howie's career has been defined by his ability to combine hands on leadership with big picture thinking, guiding teams through change while positioning brands and properties for sustained growth. Howie, great to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me, John.
So before we dig into trends and what's next for hospitality, I'd love for you to start by sharing a bit about your background, how you got started in the industry, and how your journey through real estate and hospitality has shaped your perspective today.
Well, I started in the real estate industry back in 1985 as a real estate appraiser and consultant, and my business experience evolved from there until we got to the early 2000s. And I decided to move on from the consulting side of things into the uh, more on the financial side, and I worked for a real estate lender as the manager of their real estate properties. My responsibilities there were to oversee the valuation process of all these properties for financing. And at the same time, I've always had a hobby and desire to sail, and I've had a number of sailboats throughout my life. I've had motorboats also at various times. And then in 2005, I started teaching sailing part time. And unfortunately, in the 2008 downturn, I was given a silver parachute. It wasn't quite golden at the time. And I spent the summer on boats, and I looked at, okay, where's my next job? Where's my next career going to be? And I saw the opportunity running a yacht charter business in the Toronto market. And that took a couple of years to take off. And by 2010, I was running it part time with two boats. And that continuously grew till 2015, 16, where we had five boats in our fleet, and it's evolved since then. And we do 3 hour sales, sunset sales, we do full day sales, we do lessons also, and chartering both in Toronto and throughout the world. We've come up with a new product this year that it's overnight dock stays. So we're moving into that hospitality area where our larger boats are available for an overnight sailing experience at the dock.
Excellent. Wow. So when you look back in your career, was that downturn like was it a pivotal turning moment for you um that kind of shifted your trajectory on your career? I mean, you were kind of forced into it, or did you just want to get out of the financial space altogether?
I after I was laid off at that time, I stayed in the financial space for another 2 years, um, working for a number of different consulting firms, and then kind of slowed down, working part time for myself as a consultant and building up the sailing side of things. And I saw that, yeah, I'm moving full time into the sailing completely. And it was just a matter of time till that happened. And that took about 5 years till I was able to let one slide a little bit as the other one built itself up.
Gotcha. So, in your experience, what are the toughest challenges that hospitality operators face today? What were some of your toughest challenges as you're building that company up, whether it be regulatory or talent, cost pressure, maybe changing guest behavior? How have you addressed some of those challenges?
You just touched the surface of each of the various areas that I've had to deal with. We'll talk regulatory. It took 2 years to get licensed
um,
by myself and getting the appropriate boat initially to get that license. It took a little bit of retraining Transport Canada, the regulatory body, because they weren't used to this type of activity and licensing it. So we had to negotiate with them as to what's the appropriate uh, process for licensing, because what they had before was really only in the fishing industry or large ship industry, and we're more on the recreational side. So it's very different trajectory of learning and licensing. And fortunately, I had some good connections and open-minded inspectors in the government agencies that wanted to see me succeed and worked with me to do so, all within the guidelines that they had to follow as well. So that's on the regulatory side of things. On staffing side, there was no industry that we had, so there was no uh, available staff on the senior level to operate the boats that we had. So we had to go out and develop a training program, and again work with the regulatory agencies to um, for them to realize that no, we don't need 5 years experience on a boat to be able to be licensed. Um, Go through one season and move your way up is one of the things we had to do. Then we moved into the staffing problems. It's seasonal in Toronto. We only have a summer season of 6 months. So we had mostly summer students working as crew, and there's a retraining process every year in doing that because we may get staff that lasts 2, maybe 3 years while they're in their student process, but they age out when they decide to go get a real job in life. And then on the other side, most of our captains are retirees, and unfortunately, they age out also. So we have between 1 to 5 years worth of staffing on the senior side. So staffing is something that is on the forefront of what we do, what I think about on an annual basis. Then we get into brand awareness or just awareness of our industry, in that we were new. Nobody rented boats down in Toronto, in the Toronto Harbor before us, and where they did, it was very low key. So we had to not just create our own brand, but create the industry and awareness, saying, "Hey guys, do you want something fun to do this weekend? Let's go sailing, and it's affordable, and you don't have to go to the yacht club and spend tens of thousands of dollars on a big boat. You can come with me just for the day." So that was an education of what we're doing, and we still do that on a regular on a monthly basis of that brand, that industry awareness that it's an opportunity. We've more recently we've run into hurdles in that uh, because the industry blew up in such a good way during COVID. Unfortunately, there was a lot of illegal operators and unscrupulous operators in our industry, both in Canada and in the US. It's a big problem, and so we've had to fend off that type of competition, which was an unfair competition, and at the same time working with the regulatory bodies to help them understand what this problem is and how to fix it.
Wow. Yeah, those are challenges for sure. Seems like you were the pioneer though in that Toronto area, so you've
I
created all
definitely
this. Yeah,
I definitely was the pioneer. And being a pioneer, it's entering the Wild West. And unfortunately, that Wild West um, uh, morphed every year from one problem to another, from the illegal boats to trespassing to where these boats would pick up, and uh, and also again educating the government, saying there's a problem and they weren't aware of this problem, and unfortunately, and so I'm vice president of the Passenger and Commercial Vessel Association in Canada also. So we are the voice of the passenger vessel industry with the government. And so I've been able to get into various speaking engagements and educational opportunities to talk to the right people in that capacity. Um, and that's really important to have that recognizable and authoritative voice.
absolutely, for sure. Well, let's talk about some wins. What operational or strategic wins have you seen that really moves the needle for you?
Oh, we've had some great wins during the last 15 years that we've been in operation. Our my favorite wins are the ones where we are working with a corporate organization as an experiential day uh, out on the water. So we've hosted names such as Grey Goose Vodka for a week-long event promoting their brand. We've worked with Corona beer promoting their brand. We've created a floating billboard on our boats. If you think about a sailboat has 800 square feet of whiteboard
Right.
in in the Toronto Harbor. There's no noise with it. When I say noise, it's not like a billboard driving down the highway where you see it for maybe 5 to 10 seconds and you turn your head and say, "What did that say?" And we've got a floating billboard, 800 square feet, which is 5 times the size of a highway board, and it's just sitting there that you see for 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time as it goes by, nice and slow. So by having these clients advertise with us, it's been fantastic. And that's a growing trend of our market. I'm excited for next summer when Toronto is one of the host cities for the FIFA and the soccer football matches, and we're optimistic that we'll be able to create a floating billboard for the various advertisers that are in there as well.
That's very, very creative. So let's talk about a little bit about technology. So how do you see new technology such as AI changing the way you do things?
I It's a great question. I'm still learning and trying to figure out and understand where AI will fit into our organization. I know definitely on the back office side of things and the automation where it comes to marketing and lead generation, that's the simplest form. Connecting our various sides of the business. So from our customer facing products to our internal products that do the management, such as payroll and inventory control, and having them talk to each other a lot better is going to be the two areas that I'm looking at in the most immediate future. And in the longer term, we're going to have our actual physical equipment, our engines being able to be diagnosed as to connecting to it, what maintenance is due at what point, and what's not working properly, and AI giving us the fix right away as to what should be done. And it's not just you have a, as we call them, idiot lights saying you've got a high oil pressure alarm, saying you got a problem, but going in and understanding exactly what that problem is and saying, this is the problem, this is the fix, what you have to do right now. So those are the areas we see it most happening to start with. Uh, are we, and we'll eventually get to autonomous sailing as well, that we don't necessarily have to have a captain steering the boat. Uh, it's very much like our the sails that we do are very much like a trail ride, that the horse goes around, and we have our routine, and we have our route that we follow, and it's already pre-programmed into our autopilot to start with.
Oh, wow.
Now it has to change a little bit because we a boat may be in the way or the wind's blowing in a different direction that day. But uh, my guest right now asked me that they see the boats kind of automated, making its turns and stuff because I've pre-programmed it. And I said, and I just say it's just like a trail horse. It knows its route already. It's been doing it for the last 15 years. And it said it's going to be back at the dock right on time to have its oats and hay. So we're right on schedule.
Yeah. Well, that's a great answer. Great answer. So obviously, you being in hospitality, the what is indispensable is just the human touch on things. How do you balance um, the integration uh, of technology with that hospitality experience?
So that same question or answer that I gave you about the route that we already know, and people ask us, don't you ever get bored going the same way around in circles? And my answer is truthful, and it may sound that it's um, um, prepared or rehearsed. But my answer to that is what makes our my job fun and my job interesting is the people that we get to share it with, being our guests. In that we, as an experienced sailor, get to see sailing the very first time through somebody else's eyes. So the same as you watch your 3-year-old child go to the zoo and see an animal for the very first time, and the excitement in their eyes or the fear at sometimes, we're out sailing and getting to experience that for the very first time again with our customers. And unfortunately, AI can't replace that.
Yeah.
um, it it helps us learn what to expect from our customers, and how to work with our customers in various ways. And I'll answer that just to go into a little bit more detail about that in a second. But the interpersonal connection is really important. Uh, and our guests want to know not just what's happening around us, but they want to know about our personal experience. What's the scariest sail that you've been on? What's the most beautiful? What's your favorite boat to sail on?
Yeah.
Where's your favorite place? So there's still the emotional part of interconnection that I don't think AI has mastered well enough yet, uh, or maybe it has, and that's even scarier. And but what AI does help us with is training our staff in number one, there's a lot of tourism and a lot of history in our tours, in our sales where we sail. So it's very easy for our staff and our captains and our crew to discuss what's going on, and what they don't know at that moment, they can turn around and on AI either take a picture on their phone of what those silos are or Ireland Park, and the answer is right there. So it's helping give information without having to learn all that information to the extent that you might have, or you might just touch on something and you might get a question that is, what's more, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
And they've got their speaking notes, which is one sentence or two sentences, but here's the whole paragraph on the history,
Yeah.
because we have a park that has it's called Norway Park, and we know it's was donated by the King of Norway in after the First World War, and that's what their speaking notes are. Oh, well, I'm from Norway. What's the story behind that? Oh, okay, well, there
Yeah.
you go, and
Yeah.
it's right there. Uh, and the same as personalities, dealing with customers. Um, in in my corporate life, we all did various personality testing, and whether it was colors or, and I forget all the different personality tests there are that say that you're an introvert or you're an extrovert on the highest level of what we're going through, and how to, if you're an introvert, how do you deal with an extrovert, or vice versa. And so it's now teaching our staff, okay, here's the types of personalities that are coming sailing with us, and here's how you deal with them. So here's the guy who's never sailed before and is fearful. How do you deal with that situation? So it's helped us create a list or a personality profile of our various customers, and number one, how to market to them, and then how to work with them when they're on the boat. So whether it's just a tour or lessons, it's helping our staff create the training, or train our staff to deal with the various personalities and customers that we'll meet.
Yeah. That's very interesting. So as you look ahead, your season, I would assume, is starting to wrap up. And which trends in guest expectations or sustainability, distribution, technology, service models, whatever, looking into 2026, what do you believe will define your operation in 2026?
The Good question. What I haven't, and I haven't looked at all of those areas yet, as we are this week just putting our boats away for the winter. That's what we do up in Toronto. We uh, we have to store all of our boats, winterize them, because we have this thing called ice and snow,
Wow.
to protect them from this for the summer, um, for next summer. We're looking at marketing and branding for next year. We're coming up with a new brand for what we're how we're going to be seen. Uh, in the past, it's been a fun kind of Caribbean vibe from North America as a North American. So, uh, but we're actually changing that for next year and creating a more of a Mediterranean vibe. I spent 2 weeks in Italy this summer, and realized that, yeah, we can upscale things and have a more of a med vibe than the party vibe of the Caribbean. And in doing that, we're doing a whole rebranding. At the same time, we're going to be using AI to help with that, understanding that how to implement it, and what ideally we should be looking at when we're doing this. And then the other part of the AI that we're looking at is next year is very much lead generation on our corporate side. We want to grow our corporate clientele, uh, and in doing that, we're looking to AI in building that model.
Excellent. Well, that's quite proactive of you. Okay, well, that wraps up all the questions that we have for you. Howie, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your wisdom in all this, and sharing those challenges and wins and your insights into what's ahead. Um, Big standout for me, I believe, is that you know, strategic advantage really lies not in just new tools, but applying them where to strengthen your core, being strategic where these new tools come are placed. And then still concentrating on that guest experience for sure. Um, any last words for our listeners?
No, I'm going to say thanks for having me. I'm excited as to what the future holds for us, and with respect to technology, to make our jobs easier. But what will never people will never give up and can't be, or I hope is not replaced with technology, is that personal interaction. You uh, as much the number of times that people get off our boats and actually give us a hug, saying thank you for the experience that we've shared with them or delivered to them. You can't replace that hug.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Okay, well, excellent. Well, for our listeners, thank you for joining us today. This has been Impact AI with John Hodges. And until next time, stay curious and keep making an impact.